Trump Organization. Joining us now is a man who is more central to anything going on in Washington than anybody not named the president himself. Congressman Adam Schiff is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
So federal prosecutors in New York yesterday subpoenaed the Inaugural Committee for documents about their donors and their spending. I have to ask you, in your role as chairman on Intel, is your committee also looking into the inauguration and the Inaugural Committee, or is this something that you've left to prosecutors?
This is something we're looking at. Now, there are several different parts of this piece in terms of the Inaugural Committee. Some expenditures of the committee, whether they were legal, whether they were excessive, but others, and those that are of deep concern and interest to us, are the possibility and indeed the reality, as we saw in at least one of the special counsel's guilty pleas, that foreign funding may have been funneled through the Inauguration Committee, with the most recent allegations that those involved in the inauguration sought to essentially leverage that to make money from foreign parties. We once again have the specter of those around Donald Trump seeking to make themselves rich off of the functions of government, relations with people in government. It's not unlike what we saw with Paul Manafort reaching out to Oleg Deripaska. Can we use this campaign? Can I use my position to be made whole? Well, there are now allegations that those involved in the inauguration may have been looking for a way to leverage that into a different kind of being made whole.
It strikes me, Mr. Chairman, that when the Mueller investigation first took shape, when a special counsel was appointed to look into Russian interference in our election, the prospect that anybody in the Trump campaign was involved in that foreign intelligence operation, that we started to think about the problems and the logistics about how to deconflict congressional investigations of these matters with what the special counsel was doing. We're now seeing evidence of aggressive moves, or at least moves that we can see as outsiders, from prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. There have been reports that prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York have also been interested in what you just described there, the possibility of foreign money getting funneled into the Inaugural Committee. Does your committee and do other congressional committees have to deconflict with multiple prosecutors' offices, or is there some central way you're doing that with the Justice Department? How do you avoid stepping on each other's toes as you all move forward looking at these same sets of facts?
Well, that's exactly what we do. Is we do have to deconflict, and we have to deconflict with now more than one office or more than one entity. And what may be going on here, Rachel, is you may be experiencing pressure, or the special counsel's office may be experiencing pressure to wrap things up. We saw the comments that the acting Attorney General Whitaker made, which frankly I think he had no business making. But if there's an effort to try to bring that probe to an end, then other elements of the Justice Department may be picking up and making sure that if there are those who have violated our laws, that they're brought to justice no matter what timetable is imposed on the special counsel.
Hey, Congressman, it's Brian Williams. It's going to seem like a year from now, especially to those of us in our business, but not to you. Mr. Cohen talks to your committee on Friday. Have your questions changed at all based on anything you've learned coming out of the Eastern District, the Southern District of New York? And what chiefly do you want committee members to ask him? What do you want to come out of that session knowing?
Well, you know, certainly there's a great deal of light, I think, that Michael Cohen can shed on a variety of issues. Our principal concern, and it's a concern that runs through all of our work, is that foreign actors not be able to use financial influence to leverage the president or others around him to prejudice U.S. policy in a way that's not in our national interest. And so to the degree that Michael Cohen can shed light on any of those issues, we'll be asking him about it. What I found of equal interest, frankly, although it hasn't got as much attention, is the BuzzFeed timeline of the Trump Tower deal and all that was going on behind the scenes. A lot of written documentation made public for the first time, showing this is what the Trump team was trying to do in making what would have been perhaps the most lucrative deal of Donald Trump's life in secret, in private, while in public, the president, then candidate Trump, was denying any business dealings, lauding Vladimir Putin, and also talking about how we ought to do away with sanctions on Russia. That, to me, is of seminal interest and concern, because it means that Donald Trump stood to make hundreds of millions of dollars from this deal with the Russians. The Russians stood to make billions of dollars if those sanctions were relieved.
Chairman Schiff, thank you so much for joining us. We've watched so many of your fellow members just to your right heading on in, and we suppose we ought to let you do just that. We appreciate you making